Namaskar, my dear students. Today we are going to discuss the Mendelian and the post-Mendelian concepts of the genetics. And in the very first lecture of the topic genetics, I have talked to you about the various terms that we shall be using in this lecture, such as what is meant by phenotype, genotype, dominant, recessive, homozygous, heterozygous, and so on. By using those terms, we would try to understand the Mendelian inheritance, the four laws of inheritance given by father of genetics, Gregor John Mendel. So, my dear students, in the last lecture, I told you that Gregor John Mendel performed experiments on Pisum sativum, and he did two crosses, one of which was called as the monohybrid cross and the second was called as the dihybrid cross. And according to the results obtained from these two crosses, he gave four laws of inheritance. First is the monohybrid cross. Let me talk to you what I mean to say by the term monohybrid cross. Cross means crossing the individual, obtaining the hybrids by crossing male and female parents. And as I told you that all the characters are transferred from parents to offsprings, and for our understanding of the study, if we consider only one character into consideration, that is called as the monohybrid cross. The monohybrid cross, according to Mendelian hypothesis, the gametes are combined by rules of chance with certain fixed probabilities. Now in this monohybrid cross, what we have done, we have considered two parents, and here I am representing the color of the flower as yellow and green, presuming that yellow is the dominant color whereas green is the recessive color. We represent the yellow color as by capital Y, and for representing the other extreme of the same allele, that is the recessive form, we do not use the color letter GG, but instead we write down small y, as a result of which capital Y representing the yellow as the dominant color. This is the homozygous condition, as both the alleles are same, dominant or the recessive. Now these will produce as a writing of these two letters gives us the assumption that the chromosomes they appear in the pairs. Now when the gametes are produced, all the gametes by dominant parent will be of the capital Y type, dominant type, and produced by the recessive parent will all be of the small y type. When these two parents will be crossed, we shall be obtaining the hybrid with the heterozygous condition in the F1 generation, that is capital Y and small y. The F1 represents the first filial generation and we write it as F1. Consequently, since this is the heterozygous condition, the two parents will produce the gametes are two different types, that is capital Y and the small y. Upon crossing in the F2 generation, we shall be obtaining the offsprings with 3:1 ratio of yellow to green seeds. We will have genotypic ratio as 1 homozygous yellow, 2 heterozygous yellow, and 1 homozygous green, whereas phenotypically 3 will be yellow and 1 will be green, because in presence of the dominant allele the recessive would hide its effect. That is what I mean to say by dominant and recessive. Now Mendel derived some laws on the basis of this cross, and the second cross which he performed was the dihybrid cross. In the dihybrid cross, we have the condition where we take, instead of one character into consideration, this time we take two character into consideration. And what we do, that a variety, what Mendel did instead, Mendel crossed a variety having round and yellow cotyledonous seeds with one having wrinkled and green seeds. Following the convention for notation, these would be capital R, capital R, capital Y for round and yellow, and small y for wrinkled and green, both being the homozygous condition. During gametogenesis, capital R, capital Y plant will produce gametes with capital R, capital Y allele, and small y will produce the gametes with small y allele, which after fertilization will result into a hybrid plant with capital R, capital Y, small y alleles, which is a heterozygous condition, but phenotypically it will be just like the dominant parent, that is round and yellow. Now, the plant will produce yellow and round seeds because R dominates, and capital R dominates, and small r and capital Y dominates small y allele. For F2 generation, four types of gametes will be produced as shown in the figure. These will be capital R, capital Y, capital R, small r, capital Y, and small y are produced. Thus, four types of alleles, they assort independently in four types of gametes. These gametes on fertilization produce 16 plants in F2 generation, which appear in the ratio of 9:3:3:1 in such a way that 9 are yellow round, 3 are green round, 3 are yellow wrinkled, and 1 is green and wrinkled condition, as you can see in this Punnett square. Dear students, when you perform the experiments, you are not given just the 16 seeds. For example, when the Mendel made a cross, he got 556 F2 seeds of the four types with 315 round yellow seeds, 108 round green seeds, 101 wrinkled yellow seeds, and 32 wrinkled green seed, which was a ratio in close approximation with the 9:3:3:1. So whenever we are given more number of the seed, we have to work out for the closest ratio, which gives us the indication as to which type of inheritance is prevailing. So monohybrid and dihybrid cross on the plant Pisum sativum for one character of inheritance are the two respectively, led Gregor John Mendel to formulate four laws of inheritance, which were something like this. The first law was the law of unit character, which states that various hereditary characters are controlled by factors, and there is pair of factors for each character. Let me explain it to you, that for one character there is one gene. To the term gene, Mendel called the factor. So one factor for one character. This was the law of unit character. Second was the law of dominance, which Mendel has explained in a very clear-cut ways, that every gene has two alleles that code for a trait. One allele is dominant, which always shows its effect, and one is recessive, meaning its effect will be hidden by the presence of the dominant allele. Now, this conclusion of the law of dominance could be something like that, that characters are controlled by discrete units called as the factors, and factors occur in pair. In the dissimilar pair of factor, one member of the pair dominates, which is called as dominant, other fails to appear and is called as the recessive allele. Now, after the law of dominance, we have the second law, to which we call law of segregation. The law of segregation states that when a pair of contrasting factors or the allelomorphs or the genes, whatever term we use, are brought together in the hybrid, which is in the heterozygous condition. These factors don't blend up, don't mix up, but simply associate themselves and remain together and separate at the time of gamete formation. Let me explain it in a little more understandable way. To understand the idea of law of segregation, monohybrid cross is taken. For example, a monohybrid cross between pea plant bearing axial flower and a pea plant bearing terminal flowers. If two pure varieties, that is pure variety means homozygous condition, are crossed together, in the first filial generation, a heterozygote or the hybrid is produced with genotype capital A, small a. Plants will appear axial because axial is a dominant condition. But in the F2 generation, the two varieties appear in the ratio of 3:1, that is 3 axial and 1 is terminal, clearly indicating that law of segregation, alleles for a traits are recombined at the fertilization, producing a genotype for the traits of the offspring and is separate from each other, independent of the other at the time of gamete formation. Third law is the law of independent assortment of genes. This law states, and the explanation of this law we find from the dihybrid cross, where we take two characters into consideration. And this law states that the genes of different characters located in different pairs of the chromosomes are independent of one another in their segregation during gamete formation, that is when meiosis takes place. The principle can be defined as that if we consider the inheritance of two or more genes at a time, their distribution in the gametes and in the progeny of the subsequent generations is independent of each other. For example, the possible way the chromosomes may assort, may rearrange, that could be 2 raised to power 23 possible combinations are there. Here I must mention that Mendel considered the characters which by chance were located on different chromosomes, otherwise independent assortment is true for the genes placed on the different chromosomes but not true for the genes placed on the same chromosome, that I will be discussing separately in the topic linkage in the subsequent lectures. Now, dear students, these laws, when were given by Mendel, these were of great importance because they laid the foundation of the um, genetics on which we rely even today. But Mendel was very lucky in giving these laws because of certain selections made by the great scientist. Mendel kept complete record of every cross. He also used statistical methods and laws of probability for finalizing the results, and was very fortunate because he considered very visible characters, and by chance he selected for his breeding experiments the characters which did not show the phenomena of linkage. But in today's scenario, we know that all the characters do not show the two extreme forms, because if we consider height, there are the people who are in between the tall and the dwarf categories. There are the people who are in between the category of very fair and very dark. So genetics of those continuous uh, traits are those traits which were not explained by Mendel. They form the post-Mendelian inheritance. But this does not mean that Mendel did not explain. He actually laid the foundation by which we have come across the post-Mendelian inheritance. The inheritance which was done after Mendel. And what are those concepts? These are incomplete dominance, codominance, multiple allelism, and pleiotropy. So let us first start with the incomplete dominance. The law of dominance is not always found to be correct, as there are many examples where the complete dominance is absent. In such cases, the traits of the F2 phenotype is intermediate with those of the parental traits. In incomplete dominance, the genes uh, of an allelomorphic pair are not expressed as dominant and recessive, but they are express themselves partially when present together in a hybrid. As a result, the F1 hybrids show characters intermediate to the effect of the two genes of the parents. A very typical example is given by the flowers of Mirabilis jalapa, 4 o'clock, Gulbansi, and Antirrhinum majus, snapdragon, or the dog flower, where there are two types of flowers, red and white. As you can see in this figure, the dominant trait is red and the recessive is white, but when they are crossed with each other in the F1 generation, we find a color which resembles neither of the parents. It is intermediate, and that is pink color, and this pink color is the result of the incomplete dominance shown by the dominant gene. As a result, the dominant is not able to show its complete effect in heterozygous condition, and the recessive does not hide the total effect in the heterozygous condition. This is incomplete dominance. Next is the codominance. What happens in codominance? When the dominant character is not able to suppress even incompletely the recessive characters, and both the characters appear side by side in F1 generation. In F1 generation, what happens that the generations resemble both the parents. For example, in cattle, if cattle with black coat is crossed with a cattle with white coat, F1 generation possesses roan coat like this. As you can see, the red and white animals, when they were crossed with each other, the roan color was appearing in the F1 generation as a result of codominance, that is, both the alleles were showing their effects. So the alleles which are able to express themselves independently when present together, they form the codominant alleles. This phenomena was not explained by Mendel and hence forms the part of the post-Mendelian concept. Next is the multiple allelism. I will read a one line that multiple allelism is true for a population but not for an individual. What I mean to say by this is, in a population there may be more than two alleles for a given trait, because one individual contains one pair of the chromosomes, hence only two alleles are possible. But having multiple alleles is a characteristic of the population. If gene exists in more than two allelic forms, it is said to be multiple allelism. When more than two allelic forms of a wild type are located on the same locus in a given pair of the chromosomes, they are known as to compose the series of the multiple alleles. Actually, grouping of all the different alleles that may be present in a gene pair is defined as the multiple allelism. Multiple alleles are located at the same locus. They regulate a particular character. The process of crossing over is not exhibited by multiple allelism due to their location on the same locus. Multiple allelism is shown in various traits, for example, blood groups in humans, coat color in mice, coat color in rabbits, and eye color in Drosophila. I will explain the blood group color. whether a person has A type blood group A, type B, type AB or O blood group depends on the presence or the absence of the specific substance on the red blood cell. These are two of these substances, antigen A and B. Thus, a person with antigen A is considered to be with blood group A person with antigen whose blood group is O has neither of the antigen, and person with antigen B has a blood group B. If both the antigens A and B are present in the blood group, it is said to be AB. The blood group character is controlled by a set of three alleles. In an individual, there can be two alleles, but in a population, there are three alleles. The genes produces antigen A is denoted as IA, as you can see in the figure. The gene for the antigen B is written as IB, and gene for absence for both the antigens is written as I0. And genes IA and IB are both dominant over gene I0 but not over each other. Any person carries two of these alleles, one from each parent. IA determines the formation of glycoprotein A and IB determines the formation of glycoprotein B. The dominant relationship of three alleles is very interesting. Both IA and IB are fully expressed in presence of the other. Both IA and IB are dominant to I0, and it is only when both IA and IB are absent then a person has a blood group O. Since the person with the genotype IA-IB produces both the glycoproteins, it is having I AB blood group, and such a condition is called as the codominance. So the uh, discussing the inheritance of the blood groups is an example of codominance as well as multiple allelism. Next is the pleiotropy, the ability of single gene to have multiple phenotypic effects is called as pleiotropy, and a classical example is the sickle cell anemia, which causes multiple symptoms, only one of which is actual sickle cell condition. Now, let us explain it in a better way. Responsibility of a single gene for more than one phenotypic effect, often seemingly unrelated, is known as pleiotropy. Now, this pleiotropy is best explained by the classical example of the sickle cell anemia, where normally the cells have the condition that it is round or oblong or oval in shape, but due to some inheritance or due to some conditions in the gene, the shape of the RBC, it becomes sickled, that is sickle cell anemia is the case. Now what happens that due to sickle cell anemia there is abnormal hemoglobin, there is sickle cell and blocking of the blood flow. So multiple phenotypic traits are controlled by just single gene, and such a condition is called as the pleiotropic trait. So this is all about the various post-Mendelian concept. I hope you have understood it and you go through these all the types: monohybrid, dihybrid, cross, four laws of Mendel and post-Mendelian concept. Till we meet next time with the chromosomal basis of inheritance. Till then, thank you. Stay safe and have a nice day.